I know you will all be honored, as I am, to see and hear the Libertarian Party presidential candidate for the 2000 general election, Mr. Harry Browne.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a proud day in my life, and I have to say that aside from the day that Pamela gave me her hand in marriage, this is probably the proudest day of my life, and I thank you, and I'm honored by your nomination. And I will end the suspense right now. Yes, I do accept your nomination for president. I am running for president because it is obvious that no Democrat or Republican is ever going to stop the relentless growth of the federal government. Only a libertarian is going to free you from the income tax. Only a libertarian is going to unlock the door and let you out of Social Security. Only a libertarian is going to end the insane war on drugs. Only a libertarian is going to end the reckless foreign policy that puts your children at risk of fighting and dying in a foreign war and targets your city by terrorists. Only a libertarian is going to return us to constitutional government. Only a libertarian is going to set you free. Who are we, these libertarians that you've been watching on television? Who are these libertarians who presume to challenge the Republicans and Democrats? It's very simple. We could talk philosophy, we could talk economics, we could talk morality, we could talk a lot of things, but it all boils down to one thing. We are the people who want you to be free to live your life as you want to live it, not as Al Gore or George Bush thinks is best for you. We are the ones who want you to be able to raise your children by your values, not the values of some bureaucrat who thinks he's going to create a brave new world. We are the ones who want you to be able to keep every dollar you earn and spend it, save it, give it away as you think best, not as the politicians are going to allow you to do. As this election season goes along, you are going to see Al Gore and George Bush and Pat Buchanan and Ralph Nader talking about the issues of the environment, education, healthcare, foreign policy, foreign trade, jobs, all of these things, and yet they're only going to be talking about one thing. The one issue in this campaign, as far as they are concerned and the press is concerned and the political pundits are concerned, is simply this. Which one of those men is best capable of running your life for you? That's all they're talking about. Which one is best able to decide exactly what school, what kind of school your children should go to and every other child in America should have to go to? Which one of them is best able to decide what kind of a health care system you should encounter when you go to the doctor's office or you have to go to the hospital? Which one of them is best able to decide how to run your life? Well, you know what makes libertarians different? Now, this is going to be an earth-shaking conclusion. It's going to be a revelation, an epiphany, perhaps. But we think you can run your life. In short, we believe in you. We believe that you are a responsible individual, that you can take care of yourself, that you know what is best for your children, that you know what is best for you, you know what is best for your family, you know how to live your life, and whether you make mistakes, whether you do the right thing or the wrong thing, you will find your way through life a lot better than Al Gore can run it for you, or George Bush can run it for you, or Bill Clinton, or Newt Gingrich, or Pat Buchanan, or Ralph Nader, or any of these people who presume to know best what you should do in your life. We believe in you. Now, do you want to know how we stand on the issues? It's very simple. Whatever the issue, we come down on the side of you, running your own life, making your own decisions, keeping your own money, spending it, saving it, giving away as you think best. It always comes down on your side and taking the government out of your life. We're talking about Social Security. We want to unlock the door and let you out. Let you decide how much you should put aside for your retirement. Let you decide where to put it. Of course, the Republicans and Democrats have some wonderful ideas. Al Gore is going to be your investment advisor. George Bush, though, he's the one, you remember, he's the one who believes in smaller government. He thinks you ought to be able to keep 2% of the 15% Social Security tax. And he thinks you ought to be able to invest it on your own, well, as long as you do it within the government guidelines, of course. Now, Al Gore predictably says, that's a risky scheme. I disagree with Al Gore. I don't think it's risky. I think it's puny. Now, let me ask just a simple question. Who earned that money? Who went to work every day? Who got up at the crack of dawn? Who went to work, put in 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and earned that money? You did. So who died and made Al Gore your investment advisor? Who died and made George W. Bush your nanny? We believe in you. What other issues do we believe in? How do we stand on other issues? On foreign policy, foreign trade, whatever it is, we believe you should be able to make the decisions. We don't think anybody should tell you where you can buy things, what countries you're allowed to buy from, what you're allowed to buy, how much of it you can be allowed to buy. We don't believe that in healthcare, somebody else should design a healthcare system for you. We want the kind of healthcare system that existed before the federal government moved in, where hospital stays cost a few days' pay instead of a year's pay, where a doctor visit did not take you to Grand Central Station, where there were 1,000 people sitting around waiting to see the doctor, where doctors, in fact, made house calls, where low-cost insurance was available to everybody at a price of some kind, where nobody was left out of the stream. All of that existed before the federal government moved in. And if it wasn't the right kind of system for you, you could choose another system, and then you could choose another system. We didn't want something designed in Washington, and it doesn't make it any different to us whether it was designed by Republicans or Democrats. If it's not designed by you, it is not right for you. You should make the choice because we believe in you. Now, we could go through a lot of issues, and we could talk about a lot of things. But there are a couple of issues that I want to stress particularly today because you don't hear as much about them as you should. One are the gun laws in this country. Every time there is a problem, a gun incident of some kind, the Democrats are right there to say, we need new gun laws. We need to do something about this, even if 25 laws were broken in the incident that created the event. The Republicans, of course, get right on the defensive and say, oh, no, we don't need any new gun laws. That would offend the NRA. What we want to do is to enforce the gun laws that exist. We want to prosecute the people that are breaking those gun laws. Ladies and gentlemen, those gun laws are the primary source of gun violence in America today. Armed criminals do not worry about gun locks. Armed criminals do not buy guns in ways that involve gun registration or waiting periods or any of these great panaceas that are going to bring peace to American cities. So these laws do nothing but intrude upon your privacy and your ability to defend yourself. Like so many well-meaning laws in this country, they wind up injuring the innocent while the guilty continue to slip through the net. And in the case of the gun laws, it is particularly tragic because it results in so many deaths. If just one person at Columbine High School had access to a gun, there might be 8 or 10 teenagers alive today who instead are buried there under a mountain of America's gun laws. If we care about making our schools safe, if we care about making our neighborhoods safe, if we care about making our cities safe, we will stop disarming innocent citizens to the disadvantage of armed criminals. The other issue I'd like to discuss with you is the insane war on drugs. Now, you've heard a lot about this if you've been watching on C-SPAN and seeing our convention. You've heard people refer to it. Some people say the libertarians are a party full of druggies. I look around this room and I find it hard to believe that. The fact of the matter is we are violently opposed to the drug laws, not because drugs are so important to us personally, but because our lives, our safety, our families, our children are important to us. The war on drugs is probably the greatest domestic catastrophe that has ever hit the American Republic. It has spawned violence in our cities. It has spawned law enforcement corruption. It has spawned overcrowded prisons that have allowed murderers, rapists, and child molesters to get out on early release. It has spawned the greatest destruction of our own personal liberties in the history of this country. And I'm not talking just about the liberty to take drugs. I'm talking about the liberty to have your bank account safe from prying eyes. I'm talking about having the liberty to know that your email is safe from prying bureaucratic eyes. In the last 30 years, 9 out of every 10 intrusions on our personal liberties have been done in the name of the war on drugs. And who gets hurt? The drug dealers? Of course not. Innocent people like you and me are the ones who have our privacy destroyed. Innocent people like you and me are the ones who have our cars torn apart. Innocent people like you and me are the ones who are strip searched at airports. Innocent people like you and me are the ones whose bank accounts are rifled through by Treasury agents looking for suspicious transactions. This has got to stop, and it has got to stop soon. Now, all of this seems so far away. I mean, who does this really affect? Just some people who want to smoke marijuana, or what is it all about? I'd like to tell you 3 short stories, if I may. The first one is about somebody you've been hearing about here, Peter McWilliams, who in 1996 was diagnosed as having AIDS and cancer, both, and who was given a regimen of an enormous number of pills that he had to swallow and put down on his stomach every day. It was so overwhelming to his system that he immediately just vomited them back up again. There was no way to keep this medicine on his stomach until he turned to marijuana. I believe he told me that he had not smoked marijuana in something like 25 years, since he was a hippie kid in the 60s or whatever. But he found that marijuana kept him alive. It kept the medicines down on his stomach. That wasn't good enough for the federal government, though, because imagine the message this sends to our children, that we're letting people save their own lives by smoking marijuana. So as a result, the feds moved in on him, took his marijuana away from him, to make the story short, and a couple of weeks ago, Peter McWilliams died. You've heard a lot about him here. Of course, Democrats and Republicans love it when somebody dies, because then they can tell maudlin stories about it and the need for new laws and all of these other things at their conventions. The reason people here have said so much about Peter McWilliams is because he was a friend to all of us, because he was an inspiration to all of us. Peter McWilliams, despite all of his travails, always said that his enemies were not human beings, but really his main enemy was ignorance. He showed a dignity and a benevolence in his travails that was beyond the limits of a saint, as far as I'm concerned. And it truly was a sad experience when he died 2 weeks ago. As Steve Covey pointed out, he was a victim of an overdose of government. Yes, we want it possible for people who are sick, people who have glaucoma, people who have cancer, people who have AIDS, to smoke marijuana, to relieve their pain, to relieve their nausea, to be able to live like human beings in dignity. But it's more than that. That isn't enough. The drug war itself is an abomination. And let me tell you the second story. A woman named Debbie Vineyard had never touched drugs in her life. But one day she received a phone call from some man she barely knew. The fact that she accepted the call and acknowledged the fact that she knew this man was good enough for the feds. It confirmed the man's story that she was his drug dealer. He had been arrested, and because of these insane laws that we have today, the only way he could reduce his sentence was to point the finger to 3 or 4 other people. It didn't matter whether they were guilty or innocent, because it isn't necessary to produce drugs at trial. It isn't necessary to produce money at trial. All you need is the testimony of somebody who has already confessed to the crime, and you can put anybody you want in jail. And so Debbie Vineyard, who was pregnant with her second child, was sent to prison for 10 years, was separated from her family, was taken in shackles to a prison hospital to deliver her second baby. And this is the face of the war on drugs. This is what happens not to drug users, not to drug dealers, but to innocent people like you and me. We are the ones who are in jeopardy because of the war on drugs. And finally, let me tell you a third story, the story of Lonnie Lundy, a 33-year-old businessman who had never smoked in his entire life, never touched alcohol in his entire life, never done drugs of any kind in his entire life. An employee of his got in trouble with the law for dealing drugs. The employee was faced with a 20, 30-year term, and his only hope was to put the finger on other people. So he identified Lonnie Lundy as his supplier, as the kingpin drug dealer, and the case went to court. Again, no drugs were produced, no money was produced, Nothing was produced except the testimony of this convicted drug dealer, and Lonnie Lundy received a sentence of life imprisonment without parole. There's more to the story. Lonnie's father, Jerry Lundy, obviously very, very concerned about his son, and who lost his wife, Lonnie's mother, probably because of the grief over this. Lonnie's father wrote to his senator, Senator Richard Shelby of Alabama, a Republican drug warrior. He pleaded with Senator Shelby for help. Senator Shelby wrote back, "I understand how you feel. I sympathize with you. But I believe very, very strongly in the drug laws that we have, and I believe these punitive sentences are necessary if we are ever to rid America of the scourge of drugs." 1 year later, Senator Shelby's son, flying back from London and arriving at the Atlanta airport, was found to possess 12 ounces of hashish on his person. Senator Shelby's son. Senator Shelby's son received an administrative fine of $500 and has never served a day in jail. Senator Shelby is still a prime drug warrior in Washington, as is Senator Graham and Representative Cunningham and all of the others whose family have gotten in trouble with drugs and have never served the sentences that you and I would have to serve if somebody were to put the finger on us. Now, Senator Shelby still believes, all of these other people still believe, that somehow if we put these young people in prison for 10, 20, 30 years without parole, they will somehow be better people. As though Al Gore and George Bush would be better people today if, for their youthful indiscretions, they had served 10 years in prison. I said earlier that the war on drugs is the worst scourge that has ever descended upon the American Republic. That's the bad news. The good news is that it's turning. The good news is that public opinion has switched tremendously over just the last 5 years. People are coming to recognize, if nothing else, that this drug war is an enormous failure, that it is an enormous tragedy, that it is an enormous disaster. They may not understand fully yet what the solution is. They may not understand that the complete absence of drug laws would be the greatest thing that happened to this country, just like the complete absence of alcohol laws at the end of Prohibition ended the crime, ended the drive-by shootings, ended the police corruption, and ended all the other ills that were plaguing the American society. They may not realize yet what the solution is, but they know now what the problem is. That the problem is not so much drugs as the war on drugs. And so, today, to all those people whose lives have been harmed, injured, or even destroyed by the war on drugs, I would like to say to those families who have loved ones in prison, to those people who have lost property to governments through the ridiculous asset forfeiture laws which were spawned by the war on drugs, to people who have been searched and harassed and had their doors beaten down, to the people whose families have been broken up, to the people who are suffering and cannot use medical marijuana, to all these people, we say to you, lift up your hearts. We will not forget you. We will not forsake you. We know what has happened to you. We care what has happened to you. We are libertarians, and we will not rest until your lives are made whole again. Well, I said I believe that the war on drugs is living on borrowed time, and I do believe it. And I freely admit that I am an optimist. As a matter of fact, confide in you that I went for my physical a few weeks ago, and I was diagnosed with chronic euphoria. With Pollyanna syndrome. But as I look ahead, I see an America that gets better and better and better, whereas throughout my entire lifetime, I have seen government getting bigger and bigger and more intrusive and more expensive and more oppressive. But I can look ahead and see what is coming. People ask me, why are you running for president? Do you think you can win? I get asked that question in almost every interview. But the real issue is not whether I can win this year. The real issue is that we will not have a free country again until we do have a libertarian president, whether that's in the year 2000, 2004, or 2008. And every vote we get this year puts us one step closer to that day when we do have a libertarian president. And so I say to the people at home, because I'm pretty sure of your votes, I say to the people at home that if you are sick and tired of the drug war, if you are sick and tired of the government taking your income and doling a little of it back to you like a child on an allowance, if you are sick and tired of seeing the Constitution shredded, if you are sick and tired of seeing more and more and more of your liberty taken away from you, you really have only one choice. Maybe we will win this year, maybe we won't win this year. That's not the issue. But if you want people to know what you believe, if you want to get the government out of your life, if you want control of your life back, then the only choice you have, the only possible way you can make that known, is to vote libertarian. And you need to send that same message all up and down the ticket. You need to send it to your local government, to your state government, and to the federal government. That means voting libertarian for president, for governor, for senator, for congressman, for assemblywoman, whatever it may be. This is the only way you can tell them how you feel. Oh, you may say, I can't stand Al Gore, I've got to vote for George W. Bush. Do you think that when George W. Bush gets your vote, he's going to say, well, they voted for me because they don't like Gore? No, he's going to say they voted for me in order to put my voucher plan in effect, which is going to help take over the private schools and make them wards of the state. Or no, they voted for me in order to put my health care plan in instead of Al Gore's plan. They voted for me because they like my record in Texas where I made government bigger and bigger and bigger. They voted for me for all of the things that I've done in my political career, so I'm going to continue doing that. And if you vote for Al Gore because you don't like George W. Bush or you're afraid of the religious right or whatever your reason is, I can guarantee you Al Gore isn't interested in your reasons. He's only going to use your vote as an endorsement to make government bigger, 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 more expensive, more intrusive. The only possible way to cast an unmistakable vote to get government out of your life, to get control back to your life, is to vote Libertarian. And if that doesn't result in a victory this year, it will put you closer to a victory, and a victory is what you want in the end, not the lesser of two evils. Now, I said I was an optimist. Got to be an optimist. But I truly am here for one reason only, because I can see into the future, not to foresee, not to predict, not to promise, not to guarantee anything, but I can look into the future and see how things can unfold in a way that by the end of this decade, we could have a libertarian America. A libertarian America in which you pay no income tax, because a government limited to its constitutional functions would not need an income tax. An America in which nobody ropes you into a bankrupt retirement scheme like Social Security. An America in which there is no drug war. An America in which we have a foreign policy that is focused totally on national defense and completely scraps this enormous national offense that we have now that butts into everybody's affairs around the world. I can see that at the end of the decade, and only libertarians can bring that about. Only libertarians can do it, because only libertarians believe in you. Only libertarians recognize that you are the rightful owner of your life, not Al Gore or George W. Bush. And beyond all the obvious benefits of that libertarian America is an America that's at peace with itself. An America in which blacks are no longer so afraid of whites and whites so afraid of blacks, where gays are not afraid of Christians and Christians not afraid of gays, and old people are not in competition with young people, because the government is no longer the instrument of imposing one group's values upon another. And because of that, nobody has to be afraid of anyone else. If you want tolerance, if you want respect, if you want benevolence, if you want diversity, there is a simple answer: get the government out of it and set people free. That is the kind of America we want to see. An America that's at peace with itself, an America that believes in you. And that is the kind of America that we once had. That was the promise of America, an America that continually moved towards greater responsibility, greater individual liberty, greater personal sense of sovereignty. It was an America that was able to overcome slavery, an America that was able to get rid of laws that made men and women unequal before the law. It was an America full of promise that got derailed in the 20th century and became just like all the old world countries of Europe. So today you can't distinguish America from Germany or France or Sweden or any other country in which the politicians know best how to run your life, and they're going to tell you how they're going to do it. We want to return to the America that promises that every individual is free to pursue the dreams of his own. Now, that was an America that said to the world, it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from or what you were there. You could have been the king of the country you lived in or the lowest member of society. But once in America, You will be a free, responsible, sovereign individual. No one will ask for your papers. No one will stick a number on you. No one will extort a percentage of your income as the price of going to work. You will be free to pursue the life you've always dreamed of. And you know, I believe that's the meaning of the Statue of Liberty, that golden lamp beside that lamp beside the golden door. And I believe that that's what Emma Lazarus meant when she wrote those wonderful words that are on the inscription, on the base of the Statue of Liberty. Those wonderful words that I know you've heard so often. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That is the America. That is the America we once had. That is the America we should have. The beacon of liberty, providing light and hope and inspiration to the entire world. And by God, I am determined that that is the America we are going to have again. Thank you very much.